Hey guys, Melissa Kiefer here, Money Mindset with Melissa. And I just wanted to pop on and do a video about money mindset. So, a lot of people ask the question, what is a money mindset? Well, a money mindset is a set of thoughts and beliefs that turn into words and actions that come to you from your past. They could have maybe been things that you heard when you were growing up, could be experiences that you had when you were younger. So, let me just give you an example. How many people have heard the term money is the root of all evil? Or you have to work really hard to make money. Those are some obvious money mindsets, right? That we inherited. Those were not things that we consciously formed on our own. We were like sponges when we were kids. We learned from our parents and our aunts and uncles and grandparents and maybe our teachers. We learned from, our faith leaders. We could have learned from our best friends. And nowadays, a lot of people are learning about money through the media. And so we carry these beliefs along with us into life. So when we do that, what happens? What are the impacts of some of those things, right? If you believe that money is bad, then you may do everything in your power to avoid making money or bringing money in. You may feel like you need to live a specific, very modest life because you don't want to be a bad person. And the truth is, money is very neutral. It's just a resource that we can use that can help us to support our families, support ourselves, support our communities and causes that are bigger than we are. So money can be used for good, money can be used for bad. It's the person and how they choose to use it that matters. You have to work hard to make money. That's something that a lot of people saw their parents struggling. They saw how hard they were working and not making enough money, every month to take care of things, and they were missing out on things. And so for that, you know, we feel like we've got to hustle and struggle, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You have to just keep working hard. But the truth is, money can come to you, come into your life, come into your business, come into your career, whether you work hard or you don't. It is a mindset, and that mindset can actually create blocks to having money coming into your life. So, what are some of those impacts? Growing up, my parents, they fought over money. My mom was a spender, my dad was a saver, and they were always at odds. So I created something around this. It was that money caused conflict and that it wasn't safe to have money, that money was going to, cause arguments and disputes. And so I had no idea as I was a young adult, working in my career, that I had a money block that was focused around that story I made up because I saw my parents arguing over money. So I was working a six-figure career, and my boss had come to me and said, "Hey, Melissa, guess what? We're giving you a raise. We're raising our rates to our clients, and that's going to bump up your pay rate. Not only the bill rate, but your pay rate as well." And that was the moment that I really felt like something was wrong. And I said, no, I didn't want that pay raise, right? Because I didn't want to be at the center of potential conflict. I was a peacekeeper growing up, did not want anything to do with that. So what happened was my boss wound up giving me the raise anyway. And you can probably guess what happened. My productivity started to go down. I was not as engaged in my job. I did not want anything to do with that. And it was a subconscious belief that was programmed into me when I was younger. And so it can be pretty powerful. It can keep us in relationships that we don't want to be in any longer. Maybe we stay in a relationship because we think that we're unworthy of money or incapable of earning money or, you know, some sort of a mindset thing. We can turn away money. If we're in business, maybe we are giving away our products or services for free. Maybe we are an oversaver. We just have to save for that rainy day because we know that that shoe's going to drop at some point. And, we don't get to live our lives fully. Or maybe we spend it as soon as it hits our pocket, it's gone, right? We think maybe we got to spend it before, you know, spend it before it's all gone. And, that we don't know when it's going to come again. So there's a lot of different things that it can result in. Mainly, I work with entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. And so the biggest things that I find around money mindset are women who don't feel worthy of money, women who feel like they have to work extra hard to prove their value and to receive that money. And women tend to overgive because they're wanting to prove that value. So, a lot of different things that can happen when your money mindset doesn't reflect what your goals are, what your values are, and what your true intentions are. So, some pretty big impacts there. And then, how can you discover what kind of money mindset that you have? Because I didn't just fall on this overnight and say, okay, I have a problem with my money mindset and it's causing blocks. That was definitely not on my mind. So you can journal. You can, you can be aware by journaling, asking yourself questions. What's the first memories that I had of money when I was growing up? You can watch your words, right? What are the words that are coming out of my mouth? Are they words around being unworthy? Are they words around being broke or being bad with money? What are those words? And if you don't know, you can ask a friend, hey, listen to me talk. Let me know if you hear anything that I say about money. Maybe like, oh, I don't like rich people, or rich people are greedy, or, I'm no good with money. Those are some of the common things that I hear sometimes, and we're not aware of those. So, you know, awareness is going to be the biggest thing. Once we're aware of what we think, what we believe, then we can change that. So, how do we change that? Right? We're going to change that by challenging and reframing those beliefs. And again, you have to find out kind of what those are. So, doing that research, doing that investigation, figure out what those money mindsets are. What are the words we're using? What are the thoughts that we're having? And maybe even what are the behaviors that we have when we're dealing with money or dealing with clients, things like that. So, you also want to pay attention in your body, by the way. So, if you're going to go and work with money, let's just say you're going to pay bills or you're going to call a client, or you're going to call a creditor for some reason, or you're going to ask for that raise at work, those types of things. Are you anxious? Do you feel like you got a rock in the bottom of your stomach? Do you feel good? What is it that you feel? You'll get some tips from your body that will let you know kind of where you stand with money. So we're going to challenge and reframe. So, is the thought that you're having about money true? And I want you to be open to this, okay? Maybe it was true at one point in time. Maybe it was a story you made up. We make up lots of stories as human beings. It's how we relate in the world. So, was it true or was it a story? And then also just think, maybe it was true before, but we are different people. This is a different world. The people we're engaging with are different. Any possibility is available to us at any time. Just because, I wasn't great with money before doesn't mean I'm not going to be great with money now. Every single day, every single moment, there is possibility for change. So, I want you to throw out what your brain has said. Well, I've seen it. This is what I believe, and I've seen plenty of evidence to say that that's the case, right? This is true, true, true. I want you to throw that out and then really just create something that's more empowering because negative thoughts around money are not going to help serve us, right? We have to feel positive about money because money does make the world go round in some ways. We all need to exchange money for goods or services. We need to house ourselves. We need to feed ourselves. We want to feel like we're a contribution to our communities. We want to give charitable giving. We want to have some joy in our lives. We want to be able to do some nice things with our families, right? We want to be able to start businesses and thrive in our businesses. There's a lot that money can provide us with, right? And it doesn't take away from who we are at our core. So money is not something that we have such a huge value on that that's the main value and that's why we're doing everything. It doesn't mean that. But we can have a healthy relationship and a healthy viewpoint about money so that we can start to bring more of that money in. We can save it, spend it, invest it wisely and according to our values and be in alignment there. So when we're changing this mindset, what is a more empowering thought? So maybe instead of money is the root of all evil or money brings conflict or whatever that is, we can say something like money brings peace of mind. Or we can say, I'm a good steward of money. Or money allows me to contribute to the causes that I believe in. Whatever it is that you want to reframe that to, you can reframe it. If you think that you're no good with money, then you can say, I'm learning how to manage money. That's it. You're not bad with money, you're just learning, right? So we want to know a more empowering conversation with ourselves about money. And we know that getting a new thought to be programmed into our subconscious is very challenging to do. 95% of what we do every day comes from that subconscious brain and it has been pre-programmed and it's hard to break that programming sometimes. So you can use things like affirmations, like I just mentioned. You can you can practice and learn, which we'll talk about a little bit later, right? But if you're going to use affirmations or you're going to have a new mindset around money, you want to anchor that in. And so when I say anchor it in, what can you use to remind you of that? When you're in the moment, because that's when it matters, right? When you're in the moment and the thought is coming up, how can you remember the new mindset that you're taking on, the new empowering thought or phrase that you are going to have? So it could be something like you've got a bracelet or something, and maybe it's got a dollar sign on it or something to that effect. Whatever it is, maybe it's keeping something in your personal space or on your desk that's going to remind you of this, right? A lot of people keep a journal next to them and they review it regularly, or they'll have stickers on their computer if they're working, or something to that effect. But whatever your anchor is, go ahead and create that because that's going to bring you back out. It's going to bring you out of that mindset and put you back into the one that you have powerfully chosen to adopt. Another thing that you can do is practice and learn. We don't start out experts on money. We don't start out as experts on our mindset. It's always a work in progress. We're always going to be constantly challenged and, we have the opportunity for change. Something's not going to change overnight. Just because you get to a certain spot where you feel like, oh, my mindset is perfect and it's great and it's everything I want, we're going to go back sometimes And there's nothing wrong with that. We just have to be able to shift in the moment. So practice is going to really help lock that in. So try out those new mindsets and affirmations. Try them on. See what comes up. Is that voice in your head louder? Wanting to keep and hold on to that old mindset, or is it easy for you to just switch it? The more you practice, the better you're going to get at it. You want to educate yourself on money. So, you might read some books, you might take some courses, you might invest in a coach like me, money mindset coach. You might go to seminars, anything around personal finance, anything around budgeting or investing, and especially mindset. Mindset is number one. It's the number one skill that we can master. And again, it's never really mastery because it's always changing and we're always working on it. But yeah, we want to get more educated. One way that I continue to work on my mindset and continue to get anchored and grounded in a positive money mindset is I have a date with money. I call it my date with money. I actually host sessions on different platforms for this. But just like any relationship, we have a relationship with money, and it is a deeply personal one, and that it spans other parts of our lives. So, just like any relationship, we need to spend time with them. So, let's just say we're on a date, treat it like a date, right? We want to be paying attention. We want to spend time getting to know and collaborating with or sharing with the other person, right? That we're out on a date with. If we think negatively about that other person, then that date's not going to go well, right? If we think negatively about money, that's not going to go well for us either. So you're not going to get your second date if you are distracted, not spending any time with the person, thinking negatively about the person. That's not going to happen. So we want to spend time with money. And when I say spend time with money, I mean get to a neutral space around money. You might want to do some grounding. We do meditations and grounding on these sessions. And we just leave all the fear, anxiety, stress, frustration, guilt, shame, all of that at the door. We visualize or imagine that all of that is going into a bag. We do some breathing, some deep breathing. We leave that bag at the door, or basket at the door, right? And we can pick it up later if we want to, but we're just leaving it all there. This is a neutral space. We create an environment with the things that we love that are keeping us anchored and grounded, things that help us to feel good about working with our money. And then we go to work and we tackle things like looking at our online accounts and seeing what our balances are, seeing what our transactions are. There's no judgment here. If it's not as much as we were hoping, or we're not on track to a particular goal, or anything like that, or maybe we're even past due on something, or our account is overdrawn. It's just it's just what is right now. There's no, it doesn't mean anything, significant. It doesn't mean you're bad with money. It doesn't mean that money's, at the source of conflict. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. All it means is I'm looking at my money, because when I look at it, I know what's there. I can set goals around it. I can adjust goals. I can change my target, right? What it is that I want to get from money. So we look at it, we might call that prospect. We might write a social media post that talks about our business. We might call a creditor and say, hey, I can't pay in full. What are my options? We might ask for that raise that we've been wanting at the companies that we're at. We might send an email to our client list. Any number of things we can do when we're spending time with money. I suggest spending at least 20 to 30 minutes with money every week. I just hosted a My Date with Money session today, actually. And the person that was on with me, she said that it wasn't long enough. We had basically prepared and got grounded, and then we went into just working on the money with the money. And I think we spent like 30 minutes doing that, and it went by so fast, but we got so much accomplished. But we could spend more time with it. So once we get to that state of neutrality, the flow and the ease can come in. And even though we may be doing challenging things, either things that we haven't done before, things that make us uncomfortable, things that make us scared, you know, we are able to do that more effectively instead of dragging our feet and avoiding it and resisting it, because we've gotten to that space of neutrality and we've gotten into a positive relationship with money where we're collaborating, right? We are planning with money. We are working with money, not against money. Money's not against us, right? Money wants to support us. So I thought it was important to jump on and talk about money mindset because that's one of the areas that I have really dug deep on and really done a lot of work for myself. And it's something that I share with women in multiple communities. And most recently, I just started a community on a platform called School. I'm also supporting women on a platform called Flown. So if you would like to join us in conversations and tips and motivational posts around money mindset, then I'll go ahead and put the link for the School platform. And then if you'd like to join us specifically for My Date with Money, which I do currently at the time of this recording, I'm doing it on Fridays at 8 a.m. I will go ahead and post, it's going to be an affiliate link that will get you a discount if you choose to go from a free member to a paid member, which you don't need to do. But I'm going to go ahead and post an affiliate link for that as well so that you can join me on Fridays. But anyway, thanks so much for spending some time with me today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you in the community.